Admiral Yuri Volkov stood at the viewport of the Galactic Council's primary chamber, his weathered face reflecting in the crystalline surface as he watched the emergency session unfold below. The council members, representatives of the most advanced species in known space, argued in increasingly desperate tones. Another world had fallen to the shadows. The Centauri system is gone, announced High Counselor Zara, her bioluminescent skin pulsing with distress. 3 billion souls, their entire civilization, wiped out in less than a day. The chamber erupted in panicked whispers. This was the 12th advanced civilization to fall in the past 3 months. The pattern was always the same: the shadows would appear without warning, their ships absorbing all forms of energy weapons, their technology negating the strongest defensive shields. No communication, no demands, just systematic destruction. Our combined fleets have failed, rumbled Kraz, the massive Thorian representative. His stone-like skin cracked with anxiety, a rare display of emotion for his species. The shadows adapt to every weapon, every strategy. They learn, they evolve, and they destroy. Volkov had been invited to this session not as Earth's representative. Humanity was unknown to most of the galaxy, but as an observer from the Council's intelligence division. For centuries, Earth had maintained its isolation, allowing the galaxy to think they were nothing more than a primitive species barely capable of reaching their own moon. It was humanity's greatest deception. There might be another option. Volkov spoke for the first time, his voice cutting through the chaos. The chamber fell silent, hundreds of alien eyes turning toward him. There is a species, one that the Council has overlooked. One that might approach this threat differently. We've consulted every advanced race in the galaxy, Zara replied, her tentacles writhing in frustration. Who could we have possibly missed? Volkov smiled grimly. Humans. The chamber erupted in laughter. Humans were known to the galaxy, of course, but only as a curiosity, a young species still struggling with their first steps into space. Or so they thought. Ambassador Volkov, Kraz rumbled, with all due respect, Earth barely has a space presence. Their technology is centuries behind the shadows. That's what we wanted you to think, Volkov replied, pressing a small device on his wrist. The chamber's holographic display sprang to life, showing images that made every council member freeze in shock. Massive shipyards hidden in Earth's asteroid belt. Fleets of warships unlike anything the Council had ever seen. Weapons technology that defied conventional understanding of physics. While the galaxy enjoyed its peace, humanity prepared for war, Volkov continued. We watched, we learned, and we built. We knew that someday, somewhere, a threat like the shadows would emerge. And we would be ready. Impossible, whispered Zara. How did we miss this? Because we wanted you to, Volkov answered. Humanity has a long history of warfare, of fighting against overwhelming odds. We've learned that sometimes, the greatest advantage is being underestimated. The images continued to play, showing human ships with technology that even the Council's most advanced species couldn't comprehend. Quantum weaponry, dark matter drives, consciousness transfer systems that made death almost meaningless for human crews. The shadows adapt to energy weapons? Our kinetic accelerators don't use energy, they use mass and velocity. They evolve to counter strategies? We've developed AI systems that can revise battle plans in nanoseconds. They learn from every encounter? So do we, faster and better. The council chamber had fallen completely silent. Volkov turned from the viewport to face them directly. Humanity isn't just another species you've overlooked. We're your last hope. The shadows think they've seen everything this galaxy has to offer. They're about to learn how wrong they are. As the council members stared in stunned silence, Volkov's communicator blinked. Earth's fleet was already mobilizing. The shadows had no idea what was coming for them. Humanity had hidden in the shadows for centuries, preparing for this moment. Now it was time to step into the light. The question isn't whether humanity can help, Volkov concluded, his eyes hard as steel. The question is whether the galaxy is ready for what happens when humanity goes to war. Fleet Commander Raina Blackwood stood in the heart of humanity's greatest secret, the Titan shipyards, concealed within the darkest regions of the Kuiper Belt. A massive warship, the HSS Prometheus, hung suspended before her, its quantum steel hull absorbing all light that touched it. This was humanity's masterpiece, the culmination of centuries of hidden advancement. "Status report," she commanded, her voice echoing through the command center. The holographic displays surrounding her showed hundreds of ships being brought online, awakening from their long slumber. "All systems are go, Commander," reported Captain James Sullivan, his dark features illuminated by the countless displays. "The Prometheus and her sister ships are combat-ready. The Shadow's energy absorption technology won't work against our kinetic weapons." Raina nodded, her silver-streaked hair reflecting the soft blue glow of the tactical displays. For 300 years, humanity had maintained the illusion of technological inferiority while secretly building the most formidable fleet the galaxy had ever seen. The Titan shipyards alone could house 1,000 capital ships, each equipped with weapons that would make the Council's most advanced vessels look like children's toys. "What's the status of the Lazarus Protocol?" she asked, referring to the revolutionary consciousness transfer system that gave human crews their greatest advantage, virtual immortality in combat. "Fully operational," responded Dr. Vikram Patel, the chief scientist of the program. His hologram flickered beside her. "Each crew member's consciousness can be instantly transferred to a backup body if their ship is destroyed. The Shadows won't just be fighting our ships, they'll be fighting crews with centuries of accumulated combat experience." The doors to the command center hissed open, and Admiral Volkov strode in, fresh from his appearance at the Council. "The galaxy is in shock," he reported, a grim smile playing across his face. "But they're ready to accept our help. They don't have much choice." Raina turned to face her old friend and mentor. "How much did you tell them?" "Enough to convince them, not enough to worry them," Volkov replied. "They don't need to know about the neural network or the dark matter initiative. Not yet. The neural network was humanity's greatest achievement, a quantum-based collective consciousness that allowed human ships to coordinate with perfect precision, sharing information and adapting strategies in real time. The dark matter initiative, that was something even most humans didn't know about. The Shadows attacked the Proxima colony this morning," Sullivan reported, his voice tight with controlled anger. "They're getting closer to Sol. They think they're hunting us. They don't realize they're being drawn in." Raina walked to the main viewport, watching as more ships powered up across the vast shipyard. "How many generations?" she asked quietly. "How many generations did we prepare, waiting for this moment?" "Since the first nuclear bomb," Volkov answered. "Since humanity first realized what we were capable of destroying. We knew that somewhere out there, someone else would have the same capacity for destruction. So we prepared. We built. We waited." The Prometheus's engines began to glow with dark matter energy, a sight that would have sent the Council's scientists into fits of disbelief. Humanity hadn't just advanced, they'd taken paths of technological development that the rest of the galaxy had never even conceived of. "Launch the Harbinger probes," Raina commanded. "Let's see how the Shadows react to something they can't adapt to." The probes were humanity's first revelation, microscopic quantum computers that could infiltrate and map enemy systems without detection. "Commander," Sullivan called out, his voice urgent. "We're detecting Shadow fleet movements. They're beginning a major push toward the core systems. The Council's defenses won't hold." Raina straightened, her decision made. "Signal the fleet. All ships, battle stations. It's time to show the galaxy what humanity has become." She turned to Volkov. "Admiral, send word to the Council. Tell them to pull their forces back. All of them. They won't like that, Volkov warned. They don't have to like it. They just have to survive it. Reyna's eyes hardened as she watched the Prometheus's weapon systems come online. The shadows think they're the apex predators of this galaxy. Time to show them what real predators look like. Throughout the shipyard, klaxons began to sound. Crews raced to their ships, neural links activating as they interfaced with their vessels. The greatest fleet ever hidden was about to reveal itself, and the galaxy would never be the same. The Shadow's first mistake had been attacking humanity's territory. Their second mistake would be surviving long enough to realize what they'd awakened. Earth hadn't just built weapons, they'd built warriors, ships, and systems that defied conventional understanding of what was possible. The hunt was about to begin, and humanity was no longer the prey. The first battle between humanity and the Shadows began not with a bang, but with silence. The HSS Prometheus and its battle group emerged from dark matter space 50,000 kilometers from the Shadow fleet besieging the Centauri remnants. No energy signatures, no engine flares, no signals. Just 30 ships appearing like ghosts in the void. Commander Blackwood stood on her bridge, her neural link humming as she connected with every ship in the fleet simultaneously through the quantum network. All ships, maintain stealth protocols. Let them make the first move. The Shadow vessels, massive crystalline structures that seemed to absorb the very starlight around them, took no immediate notice of the human fleet. Their sensors, designed to detect energy emissions, registered nothing from the quantum steel hulls of Earth's warships. "They can't see us," Sullivan whispered, almost in awe. "The tech actually works." "Of course it works," Dr. Patel's voice came through the neural link. 3 centuries of development usually yields results. The Shadow fleet continued their systematic destruction of the Centauri defense platforms, their energy absorption fields rendering them invulnerable to conventional weapons. They had no reason to expect anything different. They had no reason to look for ships that weren't supposed to exist. "All ships, initiate targeting sequences," Reyna commanded through the neural link. "Load kinetic penetrators. First salvo on my mark." Throughout the human fleet, massive railguns aligned themselves with precise targets. No energy weapons, no fancy particle beams. Just solid projectiles accelerated to near-relativistic speeds by electromagnetic forces. Old school. Lethal. "Shadow fleet is continuing their advance," reported Tactical Officer Wei Lin. "They're completely ignoring us." "Not for long," Reyna smiled grimly. "All ships, fire." 30 railguns fired simultaneously. 30 depleted uranium projectiles, each weighing several tons, crossed the space between the fleets in seconds. The Shadow's energy absorption fields, their ultimate defense against the weapons of 1,000 worlds, meant nothing against pure kinetic force. The results were catastrophic. 3 Shadow ships simply ceased to exist, their crystalline structures shattering under impacts that carried the force of small nuclear weapons. No shields, no absorption fields, no adaptation could stop the simple physics of mass times velocity. The remaining Shadow ships reacted instantly, their formation breaking apart as they finally registered the threat. But they were looking in the wrong place, searching for energy signatures that didn't exist. "Second salvo," Reyna commanded. "Different targets. Show them what happens when they can't adapt." Another volley, another 3 Shadow ships destroyed. The alien fleet began to return fire, their energy weapons lashing out at where they thought the human ships should be. But the quantum steel hulls absorbed or reflected everything, while the dark matter drives allowed the human fleet to move without conventional propulsion. "They're trying to adapt," Sullivan reported, watching the tactical displays. "Their hulls are reconfiguring, trying to develop some kind of kinetic defense." "Too slow," Reyna replied. "Neural net, analyze their adaptation patterns. All ships, adjust firing solutions accordingly." Don't let them establish a pattern. The battle became a dance of death. The shadow ships, for the first time in their campaign of destruction, found themselves facing an enemy they couldn't understand. Their adaptive technology, which had made them invincible against the energy weapons of the galaxy, was useless against humanity's approach to warfare. "Commander," Wei Lin called out, "we're detecting quantum communications between their ships. They're trying to coordinate their response." "Let them," Reyna smiled. "Activate the Harbinger probes." Throughout the battlefield, microscopic quantum computers that had been lying dormant on the shadow ships' hulls came to life. They burrowed into the alien vessels' systems, mapping, analyzing, and most importantly, disrupting. The Shadow Fleet's coordinated response fell apart as their quantum communications collapsed. Ship after ship lost contact with its fellows, each forced to fight alone against an enemy they couldn't see or understand. "They're retreating," Sullivan announced, surprise evident in his voice. "The shadows are actually retreating." "Let them," Reyna commanded. "Let them run. Let them tell the others what happened here." She turned to face her crew, her expression stern. "This was just a test, both for us and for them. The real battle hasn't even begun." As the remaining shadow ships fled into hyperspace, Reyna opened a channel to Admiral Volkov. "First engagement successful. The kinetic weapons work exactly as designed. The shadows can't adapt to what they can't detect or understand." "Good," Volkov replied. "But be careful, Commander. The shadows didn't become the galaxy's nightmare by giving up easily. They'll be back, and next time, they'll be ready for a real fight." Reyna looked at the debris field where shadow ships had once been, her mind already planning for the next encounter. "So will we, Admiral. So will we." The first battle was over, but everyone on the bridge knew this was just the beginning. Humanity had revealed itself, shown its hand. Now they would find out just what the shadows were truly capable of when they were fighting for survival. The shadows' response came 3 days later, and it came with a vengeance. Not in ones or twos, but in thousands. A vast armada of crystalline ships emerged from hyperspace, their forms altered, adapted. They had learned from their first defeat, and they had come prepared. From her command position on the Prometheus, Reyna watched the tactical display with narrowed eyes. The Shadow Fleet was different now, their ships covered in layered armor designed to disperse kinetic impacts. "They've adapted faster than we anticipated," Sullivan noted, his neural link streaming data from the Harbinger probes still embedded in shadow technology. "Those armor configurations, they're not just defensive. They're meant to trap and redirect our kinetic weapons." Reyna nodded, but a slight smile played across her lips. "Just as we expected. Execute Phase 2. Throughout the human fleet, hidden compartments began to open. What emerged wasn't weapons, at least not in the conventional sense. Millions of tiny objects, each no larger than a coffee cup, swarmed into space. "Quantum swarm deployed," Dr. Patel reported from his station. "Neural network integration at optimal levels." The tiny devices were humanity's answer to adaptation, a swarm of quantum-linked drones that could reconfigure themselves into virtually any form needed. Weapons, shields, sensors, or processors, the swarm was everything and nothing, changing faster than the shadows could adapt. The Shadow Fleet advanced, their new armor gleaming. Their first volley wasn't energy weapons this time, they had learned that lesson. Instead, they launched their own kinetic weapons, massive projectiles aimed at where they thought the human ships would be. "Swarm control transferred to tactical," Wei Lin announced. "Countermeasures engaging." The quantum swarm moved as one, millions of tiny units combining into lattices of energy and matter. The Shadow's kinetic weapons didn't hit shields or armor, they simply ceased to exist, broken down at the quantum level by fields that defied the conventional laws of physics. That got their attention, Sullivan grinned. "Shadow Fleet is altering course. They're trying to establish a new attack pattern. Show them why that's a mistake, Reyna commanded. Activate the dark matter initiative. This was humanity's true secret weapon, not the ships, not the swarm, but their mastery over dark matter itself. Throughout the human fleet, special drives engaged, manipulating the very fabric of spacetime. The Shadow Fleet suddenly found itself fighting in space that didn't behave the way it should. Distances stretched and compressed unpredictably. Their carefully calculated firing solutions became useless as space itself betrayed them. Shadow Fleet showing signs of confusion, Wei Lin reported. Their formation is breaking down. They can't maintain tactical coherence in distorted space. But the shadows weren't finished. Their ships began to emit strange energy patterns, attempting to stabilize the space around them. They were learning, adapting, even to this. They're better than we expected, Reyna admitted. Time to show them what happens when humans fight without restraint. Execute Protocol Omega. Throughout the human fleet, crews that had already interfaced with their ships through neural links took it one step further. The Lazarus Protocol activated, transferring their consciousnesses fully into their vessels. Human and machine became one, each ship now a living entity with centuries of combat experience and human intuition merged with computer precision. The battle that followed was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Human ships moved with impossible grace, their reactions faster than any organic pilot could achieve. The quantum swarm flowed like liquid metal, forming weapons and defenses that existed for microseconds before changing into something else. But the shadows fought back with equal ferocity. Their ships merged and split, formed new configurations, tried strategies that no organic mind could have conceived. It was a battle of evolution itself, two species pushing the boundaries of adaptation and technology. They're targeting our quantum communications, Sullivan warned. Trying to disrupt the neural network. Let them try, Reyna responded, her consciousness now fully merged with the Prometheus. The network isn't just communication anymore. It's who we are. The battle raged for hours, both sides taking losses, both sides learning and adapting. But slowly, inevitably, humanity's preparation began to tell. The shadows could adapt quickly, but humans had been adapting for centuries, preparing for this very moment. Shadow Fleet is withdrawing, Wei Lin announced finally. But this wasn't their main force. This was a test, just like our first engagement was. Reyna, her consciousness still merged with her ship, watched the Shadow Fleet retreat. They're learning about us, just as we're learning about them. The next battle will be different. It will be worse. Are we ready for that? Sullivan asked. We've been ready for 300 years, Reyna replied. And we haven't shown them everything yet. Not even close. The final confrontation began where humanity's story had started, in orbit around Earth. The Shadow Fleet had traced humanity's technology back to its source, amassing the largest armada ever seen in the galaxy. Their ships blotted out the stars, their crystalline forms having evolved into something new, something terrible. Commander Blackwood stood on the Prometheus's bridge, but she wasn't just standing, she was everywhere. Her consciousness flowed through the neural network, present in every ship, every quantum drone, every system. The entire human fleet had become a single organism, ready for the ultimate test. They're here in force, Sullivan's consciousness echoed through the network. More ships than we've ever seen. They've committed everything. Good, Reyna responded. Because so have we. The orbital shipyards had been emptied. Every hidden facility, every secret installation, 3 centuries of preparation had come to this moment. But humanity's true weapon wasn't their ships or their technology. It was understanding. Open a channel, Reyna commanded. All frequencies, all methods. Let's show them what they've never understood. The message that went out wasn't in words or data. It was consciousness itself, the full neural network opened up, broadcasting the entirety of human experience. Their fears, their hopes, their dreams, their nightmares. Everything that made them human. The Shadow Fleet hesitated. For the first time, they were receiving something they couldn't adapt to: emotion, creativity, the chaotic beauty of human consciousness. "They're responding," Dr. Patel announced, his voice trembling with excitement. "The Harbinger probes, they're detecting neural patterns. The shadows, they're not just machines. They're like us." The truth unveiled itself in that moment. The shadows weren't simply destroying civilizations, they had been searching. Searching for others like themselves, species that had transcended the boundaries between organic and digital existence. Every civilization they had encountered had fought them with conventional weapons, with predictable strategies. Until they found humanity. "They're not attacking," Sullivan observed. "They're communicating." Through the neural network, understanding flowed both ways. The shadows had evolved over millions of years, becoming beings of pure consciousness inhabiting crystalline vessels. They had searched the galaxy for others who had made the same leap, destroying those they deemed incapable of evolution. But humans had done something unprecedented. Instead of abandoning their organic nature, they had merged it with technology. The chaos and creativity of human consciousness combined with the precision of machine intelligence. They were neither purely organic nor purely digital, they were something new. "We are ready," the shadow consciousness resonated through the network. "You have shown us another path." Reyna stood in the digital space between human and shadow consciousness, understanding flowing between them. "We spent centuries preparing for war," she communicated, "but what we really prepared for was evolution. Change. The ability to become something more without losing what we were." The Shadow Fleet began to change, their crystalline forms restructuring into something new. Not weapons of war, but bridges between states of existence. They had found what they were looking for, not an enemy to destroy, but a species to learn from. Admiral Volkov's consciousness joined the network. "The Council needs to understand what's happening. The galaxy is about to change." "The galaxy already has changed," Reyna responded. "We didn't just survive the shadows, we showed them a new way to exist. And now we'll show everyone else." The war ended not with destruction, but with transformation. The shadows and humanity became partners in evolution, teaching the galaxy that survival didn't mean remaining unchanged, it meant growing, adapting, becoming more than what you were while keeping the essence of what made you unique. As the combined fleet of human and shadow ships moved through space, they carried with them the promise of a new era. The galaxy had feared the shadows would bring an end to civilization. Instead, humanity had shown them, and everyone else, that every end was just a new beginning. Reyna looked out at Earth, the cradle of humanity that had prepared its children so well for this moment. "We spent 300 years preparing for war," she mused, only to find out we were really preparing for peace. The neural network hummed with the combined consciousness of two species that had found each other across the vastness of space. The galaxy would never be the same, and that was exactly as it should be.